Welcome. So glad you all are here and we get to go through questions. We're just starting with the one that I've been given. How are you supposed to motivate yourself to keep doing somatics and brain retraining when you're not getting the results you want? I do acknowledge the little wins, but it is still hard. And I thought, what a good question, because how often does that come up, not just with with so many things in our life, right? With everything, really. And so I know that not everybody in our community has the same faith, but immediately my brain went to Galatians 6:9 that says, "Let us not grow weary in well-doing, for in due time we will reap a harvest if you do not give up." And I thought immediately, I don't know, a few weeks ago, there was a video of mine that is um the pothos, just a plant. I did a few years ago, I did a lot of single leaf propagation of my plants. And so, I mean, it's like the leaf and the node, but you make roots from it. And, it goes a year looking exactly like it did. No change. From the outside, I don't see anything. It looks identical. Like I just stuck these leaves in. Well, they haven't died, so that's good. But it's like, why didn't anything happen? And yet they would have died if nothing was happening. It would have gotten worse, right? Not saying we can't have ups and downs and things can get worse, but that's awesome. But it's, I shut a window. Wait just a second. That's lawn mowing going on right outside the window, but so yeah, I had a full year. These plants didn't look any different. Like I just stuck the little leaf and the stem into the dirt, nothing had changed. And then at a year, it's like they doubled. Suddenly there were twice as many leaves in there as there were, not suddenly, but it sure seemed to happen that way. And it's like, well, what happened in that whole year? Why would nothing happen? And then suddenly there's double. Well, they were actually producing roots, like taking energy, right? And it took energy to do that and took time to do that. And then another year goes by. And the whole thing is with pothos, they're supposed to like just vine and grow faster than anything. And it's like, okay, 2 full years have gone by now. It hasn't vined. Maybe one did a little bit or something. It's like, oh, cool, but where's the vining? Where's the, how many inches a year and stuff in a month and all of that? And then 3 years in, and I mean, they just shoot out, right? So, and I'm not predicting some kind of timeline on anybody here. It's not that, but I'm just saying I could sit there and go, nothing is happening at all. But under the surface, tons of stuff is happening. As I said that, I just thought of ducks and, it looks like nothing's happening, but under the water, because they're just so still and under the water they're going. And I just think that so often there are things going on under the water. And so keeping that in mind, that's why I do videos like that one on the pothos sometimes, just to encourage us that I know I look back at my journey and I always said I didn't have any physical benefits for the first 9 months at all. I look back and I can actually see them now quite a lot. But I did not think, even the first couple of years, I would say that first 9 months, nothing, no physical improvements whatsoever. That is actually not true. But in the midst of it, I couldn't even see it. And so sometimes I think things are happening like that are actually obviously happening on the outside, and we're just not even noticing it. But you are building roots and a foundation. But I think it was more what I wanted to look at even more with this, more thought about it was, yes, all of that's true. Things are happening, you're building roots, but how, like, is there some other way or different way or whatever? I mean, and we can always ask that, right? Like, we don't want to be going, oh my gosh, I'm not seeing improvements. I need to try every different way under the sun and be more in this, like, searching for making sure there's results right now. But going, okay, this is what I'm led to do. This is what makes sense. This is what I'm guided to do. I'm just going to keep doing this and not give up, not grow weary in will doing, because in time there will be a harvest, right? Those pothos do grow. There is this, and I know there's more examples with like a bamboo that grows like 6 years, it grows like almost not at all or something, and then it grows many feet in a month or something. I mean, there's a lot of plant examples like that, but our body is a gift. So if you've given your life to Christ, we believe it's the temple of the Holy Spirit, but either way, it's a gift. Without it, you can't interact in the world. And your mind is too. Without it, you can't, I mean, you're not there, right? So I see this whole thing, we could look at this as like a diet. I'm gonna diet for this period of time, and then I'm gonna go on with my life. And we know those aren't very successful and don't do much for us. But I'm going to change my whole way of thinking and viewing the world and treating my body. That's for life. Now, I'm not saying maybe that it's however many hours, because often people like aren't working and are just fully in doing this, but it's creating a whole new way of thinking. Like it took a lifetime to create this way of thinking, of being hard on your body and rough on your body and demanding of it and condemning of it, and guilting it and shaming it. And so it doesn't just happen in a moment to change those entire ways of being. And I think, I know earlier on, it's like, I'm not really changing that. But then I start, like, I have, I've told people I have annual things like a camping trip or, a holiday or a birthday or something. And you look back and just realize that even in something like, if we're just talking about physical health or mental health, but then relationships, they interact with all of it. But I'll realize like, oh, I don't feel scared being around that person anymore. Or, they did say a rude thing and I'm fine. I had to do the same physical task, and maybe it still wasn't exactly where I expected to be, but I realized, oh, it was easier. Or I actually stopped and took a break, because it's okay to do that. And I don't have to have an excuse that I'm sick or anything. You start realizing like you have changed so much. I mean, down to the deeper level, like how easy it is for me to laugh now. I know I started seeing changes in that after a while, not right away. It was very much a conscious decision to laugh. It was easier to laugh in the classes, but not outside of that for a long time. And then it just became easier and easier. And now, like, I just kind of just noticed, with curiously observing myself in a park with some kids the other day, and realized that me and the littlest kid were laughing the most. And nobody else was that lighter fruit. It was like the older kids were overthinking it, and the adults were, and it was just like, there was fun. We were all enjoying the same fun. And I just was laughing. And I'm thinking, that is changes that have built up over time. That didn't happen because one day I decided to do this and I did it for this many months and then I stopped. Like, I'm changing my entire way of interacting in this world. And so that's why it's like, I think if we have that more long-term goal, and I'm not saying we shouldn't see changes, but a long-term goal of like, I'm changing the entire way I interact with myself and with other people and with my thoughts, then it's going to have a lot more hope and long-term effect. So, and yeah, I feel like I saw emotional changes way before physical. And yet, like I said, I look back and I see the physical, but I did not see them at the time. I've had other people say very much the opposite. They only had physical changes and they didn't have any emotional changes. I'm sure they had emotional changes, right? They can look back and see it a few years down the road. But so I think it does vary. I always thought like, oh yeah, it must always be emotional first, then physical, but it's not. And I may only be thinking of one individual right now, but it just, I've seen it both ways. It's very interesting. Yeah, and that's what they say, the symptoms are the last to leave. So, I mean, it is what I saw. It is what most people saw. But I guess I'm just saying, if it's the opposite, you're seeing all these positive mindset changes or all these positive physical changes, but you feel like your mindset hasn't changed. Again, it probably has. Just like I look back and now see the physical changes that were happening that I couldn't see. But it's okay. We can be different. But I would say it's more common that the mindset shifts, because it only makes sense to me, and that's why I think the mindset is shifting in the other people too. But our body follows our soul, and our soul is our mind and will and emotions, and we get to change those first. So anyway, that's my thoughts on our first one, and I will just like stop there, I guess, on that. And if anybody has any other questions, you can type it in the chat or hop on, and just know I am recording, but it's fine. You're welcome to talk, but just know your voice is being recorded if you talk, or I'll rate it if you type. I don't have to say your name. So any others? I'm gonna get the keyboard real quick. Oh, that's a good question. Is there a certain point where you feel it's necessary to take a complete break from all this stuff? It can be a lot sometimes to just be so focused. And I don't think there's ever a time to take a complete break, but I'll clarify what I mean. Because yes, I think there's times of more push and times of more rest. What I mean though is I think when people I've talked to people who have needed, like, I know for me, visualizations and stuff were more, chunks of time. I did them totally differently, but in the way that I thought they were supposed to be done, they were just like chunks of time here and there, and then stop. And if anything that I was doing, if I felt like I had to keep doing it or else, then it was actually often helpful to step back and kind of put it in its place. It's not do it or else. Because that's like doing it in fear. And so I think it can be helpful. I remember when I started doing visualizations as I could at the beginning. Okay, so just brain focus, they were seconds long, and then had gotten a little longer, and then suddenly it was like I was just able to do a longer visualization. I was told I did it wrong and I would not heal because I did it wrong by just some random person on a Facebook group, right? They were wrong, but it just was like, and I put all this work in over months, and so I stopped, and I didn't do, even attempt to kind of do anything like that for months. And I had mindset shifts and just felt calmer during that time. And I thought, oh, okay. And so it put it in its place. Like there's no one exact thing that's the end all be all. And so I think that's why it's important to kind of, oh, okay. Do I have to do exactly this all the time? And if I start panicking that I have to do it, then I need to take a break. But I've had people say, I need to just take a break from brain retraining, and they stop even caring about what they're thinking about or how they're caring for their body. And it's not good. I guess it's been good because then they come back, but it doesn't seem like it's overall worth it. But taking, some people would say like, oh, I take a dedicated day off a week. But I'm like, is that day off to have joy and fun? That's not really a day off. I mean, in a good way, like this is a way of life. We're going to choose joy, choose rejoicing, choose gratitude. And so if your day was a day to just be free and walk around and enjoy everything, like you're choosing gratitude. And so I don't think it makes sense in the way I've seen some people do it to just be like, I'm done with this. Because that's like you're done with changing your whole way of interacting with yourself in the world. And it's not something that we turn on or off like a diet. Yeah, and that's, someone said, if I feel myself striving to the point it feels stressful, I take a small break and get in nature and do calming things. But again, that's not quitting, right? But there's lots of different tools and ways we can choose gratitude. So I love that. That's exactly, I guess, what I'm saying. I wish I'd read that. Yes. That's so interesting that you say that. I feel so conditioned to wake up to do my meditation, somatics, and stuff. And before I was conditioned to go to the gym, play sports, and have fun. Can't they be the same? Can you change them? Can you, um, I mean, I think that's why, when you're just kind of in bed, not moving, it's a little bit different. But if you can get up and move around, I think your attitude needs to switch on what you're doing. Like, I know for me, um, the laugh with me classes that I lead, like they're fun. And yet there were times when I was leading like 7 days a week, twice a day, that I didn't want to, or just when I was participating, too, before I was leading at all, when I was participating, like I didn't want to. Just like I love my morning walk. I love swimming. But definitely I just don't feel like it sometimes. And sometimes it's like, yeah, I actually need a break, and that's okay. But it's like, wait, but I know that I actually like it once I get out there. Like even going into the cold water, it's like, I don't want to do this. And there have been days I've even walked out there and been like, I actually really don't want to do this today. I was just kind of doing this habit and I don't want to, and I don't need to, and it's okay. But so many times it's like, damn it, push through that resistance right now because it's gonna be better on the other side. But I'm thinking if you don't, if nothing's, I think you need to start associating these things with joy. Like, can you be in nature, caring for your body? Can you, orienteer to the things around you and really take in the beauty? Because I think how often did I walk by certain flowers and plants and just not see them, and then somebody else would point them out and I'm like, oh well, let me like really truly look. And that's why when people say like, oh, I don't have a beautiful place to be in nature so I can't heal, I'm like, that's baloney. Because you can be in a beautiful place and not actually truly take it in. So you can have one potted plant or one pretty picture or just look at the sky and really take it in. And so it doesn't matter if it's an exact tool, but I'd like you to see if you can associate any of these tools with joy, with people that you like to laugh with, um, people that you like to see, that community aspect. Um, and then, even just starting to sandwich things, like how do we build good associations? I sandwich things with even just little rewards and things, and you do start actually changing, and you find these things that you're doing as work or tools fun and joyful. Yeah, bring in fun. Uh, bring in fun however you possibly can. Yes, doing fun things is a part of it. Yes. Stop seeing this as tedious, more as helping yourself. Yeah, caring for yourself. Like I want it to be a joy. And again, I'm not like, I love my walk. I love going on hikes. And yet I'll start off like, oh, this feels like it's just gonna take forever or something. I'm like, and I just need to change my thoughts. And I know that's just a specific thing you could say, oh, well, that's just for fun. But no, that's to take care of my body, to strengthen it, to have time away, to separate. I meditate on God's word while I do it. I choose to have gratitude and praise. And so I'm like using it as a tool. And there are days where it's like, I just want to be like kind of just doing nothing. And yet realize, oh, that's actually just doing something different than I was doing. Today, I'm just gonna take in the leaves and trees. Because I could go to, I'm gonna do nothing and then just catch, and I've done this. I'm like, I'm not gonna do any of that gratitude stuff or anything that I normally take the time to do because I know it helps me. So it's associated with joy and peace and calm and everything. I'll be like, I don't want to, it's too much effort. And so I'm just gonna walk because I like that part. And then I'll catch myself realizing that I'm swirling in a spew of negative thoughts and it's not that fun to hike actually. And nothing's going that well. And then I realize like, oh, I don't have to like be speaking or speaking out gratitude or something. I could just actually be really present and take that in. Well, that's another tool. But how am I seeing it? I'm seeing it as like, I'm gonna take the time to really soak in this beauty. And it's good, and it's not negative. Any other thoughts? You guys have good additions. I've noticed if I feel burnt out, I just need some fun for my soul. That's actually amazing to notice that. Yes. And then take care of your soul. So celebrate that you get to do something different and you are so good at taking care of your soul. I agree. Like, I love how you say that, because when I've done it and when I've done what I just said and it's kind of gone badly, like, I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. It just turns really negative. But when it's like, I'm noticing that I feel kind of burnt out on this. What could I do different? Oh, maybe sometimes it's as simple as maybe I won't go the normal way I'll go. Maybe I'll switch it up and walk a different way. I mean, really. Maybe I'll flip around the other direction, like silly stuff. But yeah, so often it's like maybe I'll laugh as I'm doing it. And it is still a choice and like an effort, but it's so much more like, what is my soul asking for right now? Or what is my body asking for right now? Like, I'm going to give it that. And it's awesome. Yeah. Leave the guilt and shame that you aren't doing the task. Yes. Yeah. It's like, no, but I'm going to do something. And I always say when people are like, it's so exhausting to try and think of positive things all the time, or, to always be thinking. And I had somebody just ask me this the other day, like, what if I just want to rest and not think? I'm like, well, you're going to think. You are going to think. But that's actually why we can, watch something positive, right? Watch somebody else process or not process, visualize something beautiful. You can watch hilarious videos of cats being goofy, whatever. I mean, there are things and go out into nature, take it in. It's like, just have, I guess, a distraction, but I mean, it's like, just have some assistance in how you're directing your thoughts, because you're always going to think. And so people saying like, oh, I'll just think nothing, you're actually going to be thinking. And so it's just a direction rather than a constantly efforting. And I think that's what helps a lot. Yeah. Finding joy and pleasure in life feeds my soul, even in snuggling in a cozy blanket. I love that. Thank you for saying that it's like, I'm gonna choose basically to find joy in this. And it has been, I feel like, yeah, even my example, I know I talk about this a lot probably in the self-lymph massage that, I started off years ago doing self-lymph massage on myself, because I've done it on other people, but on myself more extensively. And it was at first very much like workspace. I'm going to fix my body. It is broken and I have to do this so much. And it didn't matter how tired I was. It didn't matter anything. And it was like, because I'm broken. I actually still got a lot of benefits from it. I did. I won't say that I didn't. I did. It's that effective, right? You're actually moving lymph. And so I still had benefits. So I didn't see it as like, oh, this is hurting me. Why am I doing it? No, it was still helping. I think it had some negative benefits, but I was doing that attacking self in all things. So it didn't really make any difference. And then I started learning more about how God saw me and what he'd done for me, and that, oh, I'm loved. And if I'm to love others as I love myself, I have to love myself. And so it's like, oh, well, maybe I should be a little just calmer and more patient, and that I'm not broken, but I'm just caring for myself. And little by little, it didn't like happen in overnight, but little by little, I switched more to doing it that way. And the benefits were so much more. Plus, I actually found joy, just what was said. Like, it's like, this is awesome. And so I did do it hours a day, every day, because it was, otherwise I didn't super feel that I had the ability at the time to be still. I was like laying in bed, but being still, I at the time didn't feel that I could handle my symptoms. So I needed to be kind of moving, and I felt that way anyway. And so doing that, at least just on my trunk anyway, because I didn't always reach everything else, trunk and neck, was a way to be moving while the action of moving wasn't like manage symptoms, but like, hey, I'm just caring for my body. I'm gonna move, so I might as well care for my body. I'm gonna think, I might as well think positive things that are caring for me. Um, I'm gonna move my body today. It might as well be in a way that is helpful for me. Um, and has carryover. So yeah, I love that. Just finding joy and pleasure in whatever it is you're doing. And if it's snuggling in a cozy blanket, like you could call that this exercise of deciding to do that because I have to care for myself because I'm broken and I need comfort. Right? But that's not what it is. Like even somebody who's never had a healing crisis or journey or whatever sickness in their life, I mean, an extended one, would find joy in snuggling and just like, oh, my body feels so cared for right now. I mean, I feel oh, the warmth of that. Like I'm just gonna notice the warmth of that. Like it doesn't matter. I think we think too much, like, okay, I have to do this way because I have to heal. And it's like that's actually why we're training. This is life. We're gonna find joy in snuggling in a blanket. Yeah. Yeah. I remember I think it's okay to say her name because it's a good thing. Chaz Newton had done an exercise class a few years ago, kind of, and a couple of years ago anyway. And I had started finding that just laughing while I did anything had helped, but I'd never had anybody, I think, direct me in that. And she would have us doing certain things where we were like maybe crawling on the ground or something, just, okay, we're going to set a timer and we're going to laugh while we do this for 2 minutes. And it was like, oh yeah. And yes, I know you could just say like, oh, that's just this again, forced effort thing. But it was this choice to go, oh yeah, this is just gonna help me associate this hard thing that I'm trying because it was extremely hard for me at the time, with something positive. And so yes, it was this like kind of push effort, but I chose to find joy in it and just start laughing. And the laughter, because I've been laughing enough, can bring up memories of other times I'm laughing. And I can just kind of let my mind sort of wander in good, oh yeah, that was fun. Thanks God for that. Oh yeah, that was fun too. And I don't know. I think it's a lot more free than we think. So anyway, I found this helpful. Any other questions or helpful comments?